Let me announce it that we have started. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, close this. Close this. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, perfect. Everything is working fine. Let me sit into my original position here. I'm always saying. Okay, let me know, Pavel and Paulo, if you're down to start. Let me know.
I think I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay. So welcome everyone in the very new episode of my Dev Live show. Today I'm joined with Paolo and Pavel, who are the creators of the game called Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very thankful and very honored that you joined us for today's episode. Like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please introduce yourself for us.
Alrighty. I'm Paulo Lara. I'm the artist of the team, and I have pretty much a lot of experience as a freelance illustrator, then working in companies for a casino development and things like that. But then we decided to go full time into this project, Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo, and we've been working for the past 2 years, I believe, into the development of the game. 2 to 3 years. Yes, and we're working full time. I'm the artist of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and my name is Pavel. I'm the programmer of the team. And well, I guess in my experience, I don't have as much experience on like working on the industry besides my time here on Gala. Mostly self-taught, but I did go to college and a community college. Definitely it's been a huge learning experience working on Kulebra. So I think that sums it up. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for that. So my very first question would be, what was your very first contact with video games as a player, if you remember those times of your past? So as a player.
My first contact with games, it's a little fuzzy in a sense because when I was very young, let's say 3 years, 4 years old, I had experience with SNES games, mainly Nintendo games. The most part, especially in that era. I mean, the early 90s, that was pretty much only Nintendo at that point, given the market. But what I would say that my first experience that really marked me as a player would be The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. That's the one game that it's really like a heavy core memory in a sense.
I see.
Mainly because of how deep the game felt or how alive its world felt, because you could go to pretty much every corner in the game and always get a surprise or find something that was
secrets.
And that really blew my mind back then in that sense.
I see. What about you?
In my case, it's like a lot of my time like playing back then. I'm talking like 4 years old. It's like a blur. But for some reason, I remember playing Star Wars for the Nintendo 64.
Right.
I think that was the first game I played. At least it's the first one I remember. Like everything around that year is a blur, but I do remember struggling
like
to hold
the top-down
control.
Star Wars, where you had to play with Luke Skywalker, or not Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan, right? Or that's top-down one, or
no, it's
that's
actually
not.
It was the racing one.
The racing one. Okay, yeah.
Which actually surprised me because they re-release it a couple. I think it was like a year ago.
Yeah, they re-released every part of those games. Yeah.
Yeah, I did replay it again, and yeah, it's as hard as I remember. But yeah, that's basically
true.
Yeah.
I see.
I don't know how I got to play it because like my hands were very small. But yeah, that's probably the first game I ever played.
I see. From that point of your life, when you loved playing video games, what was the transition time for both of you that you realized that, hey, I would like to work on video games? and make the first move into the video game industry. So what was that light bulb moment in your head that, hey, now I would like to focus on games, when it started for you guys?
Naturally, on my side, it was fairly organic in the sense that, for example, I would spend most of my time in school,
I see.
high school or primary, as doodling
I see.
around
I see.
and making things, but not having a clue that I would like to be an artist at all. Back then, I didn't see it even as a career.
I see.
So one time, one of my family members, my relative, my aunt in this case, she said that I should exploit that talent and that I should dedicate time to perfect my craft.
I see.
So she helped me to go through art school, and then by then I realized I wanted to be an artist. Specifically,
Nice.
I had a huge affinity for illustration, character
see.
design, and that type of things. And well, I wasn't that interested in animation. And growing up with video games, I also had affinity for character design for video games and that type of things. I would just like not naturally think of game ideas and that type of thing. So or characters for games. So yeah, it just flew naturally into that sense. The video games have always been part of my life as a whole in one way or another.
I see. What about you?
Same for me. Basically, like I almost all my free time I was spending like playing video games.
I see.
I started like, do you know the program Game Maker?
Yes, I do.
Yes, the Game Maker. It was like this was back like in 2012. It's been like several years ago. I started tinkering with that program because I wanted to actually make games. Specifically, I think I started making like Zelda fan games.
I see.
I didn't go too far from just being like little projects, like one room. But eventually, after I tinker enough with it, I was talking with Paulo and I said like, hey, why don't we like try to actually like finish a project, a mobile game, like starting small, which was led up to our very first project, which was a mobile endless scroller game we did, and that's how everything started. It was just like one day that we just said like, let's see where everything goes.
I see.
Pretty much, he had affinity for video game programming, and I was interested as an illustrator to create characters.
So it was a perfect combination of the work and affinities.
Yeah.
And
so we said, let's give it a try, and yeah, we started with a small mobile game.
I see. Speaking of this topic that you mentioned before, that you have not finished some projects before starting these bigger projects, what was the causing effect behind this situation that you have not finished those earlier projects in your life? Since you mentioned like you always had the drive, right, to make video games. So
yes.
Well, I guess in a way, for the first projects, well, they were fan games, so I didn't have like a strong commitment
I see.
see them through.
So it wasn't that personal, I could say, right? Or we could say.
Yeah, I think that for the first project, which was our mobile game, was when we started to actually like seriously like, okay, let's try to finish a project.
I see.
And once we actually got like into the commitment that this is something we have to do and we have to finish, it was a lot easier for us to like stick to it.
I see.
I think we do have a few other projects. I think at some point that we tried for mobile games, but
one more actually.
One more, yeah.
One more.
But I guess we didn't go through because we decided. Well, right now we decided with Kulebra that it's the game that we're developing. So it's a thing that we kind of have to pick and choose the idea we go forward with, because we have I have so many ideas, but I don't think I'll be able to actually get through all of them like in my lifetime.
There must have been so many ideas then, right?
Yeah. But like when it's like a 4 year for like, I guess with Kulebra it's been like 4 years. Like it's a big commitment.
I see. But hopefully players will be able to see a lot of games for you guys. So I hope that will happen. Yeah. You also mentioned that. So sorry for interrupting. Go for that.
Oh no, no, don't worry. Sorry. I just said that.
I see. So you also mentioned like having family members supporting you guys on the road, on the journey of chasing your dreams. My personal question would be, were your family members and close friends and parents supportive about this decision that you go full time into video game development? How do you feel about
Um,
this?
for the most part, yes, and it's only natural if a parent would be worried about their kid
True.
deciding to bet on video game development. So yeah,
True.
I I think even that paranoia and the stigma that can be behind video game development as a whole, they have been very comprehensive and, and supportive.
I see.
After all, in the end, they always support our ideas, and even if they might be a little doubtful of how things may turn, they still support us and try to help us in any way they can. So we cannot be more grateful in that sense.
I see. I see. Do you think, by the way, for both of you, it is important to have a mentally supportive background in your life in order to chase your dreams, in order to work on video games? How do you feel about it? Or it's not necessary that much to have a supporting background in your life? You would
That's
do it anyway.
that's an interesting question.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I've never put too much thought in how much would that affect my decision. In a sense, I'd like to believe that I would still dedicate myself to it, but
I
I
see.
can see that influencing heavily my decision.
I
In
see.
a sense,
I see.
because for example, originally before I decided to be an artist, I didn't see art as a career, and in a sense, it was part of that same stigma.
I see.
So sometimes that type of things can work behind our backs to make
True.
us make decisions that we are not really aware of.
True.
I guess the environment can really shape you as a person.
True. I
In
believe in
many,
that too. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Just you decide whether to like accept the input that you get from your environment or not, right? So
exactly.
I see.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes a huge difference. I guess how much of a difference depends on the person. Some persons are more like are more receptive to feedback. I guess for the lack of a better word.
True.
But I think the matter that regardless of who you are, it definitely has an impact. And like
True.
positive support on the game definitely keeps you encourages you to
True.
keep going. It's like you can still succeed despite of that. Some people really have a strong will,
True.
but it definitely makes a difference. It's not everything, but it makes a difference.
Very true. So let's switch back to the topic of the game itself, Kulebra. What was the influence behind the story itself of the whole game? Because it's a very interesting, emotionally full story. What was the influence behind the full story of the game? I was wondering about that.
Let's see. Let's start with baby steps since it's a very organic process in a sense.
Okay.
So originally, the whole idea of Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo as a game comes from our first mobile game, actually,
I see.
which was meant to be endless
Endless
scroller of a snake zigzagging,
Okay.
and you would have to get the higher score possible by just tapping left and right.
I
Excuse
see.
me,
No, it's okay. It's okay.
left and left and right, and trying to avoid obstacles. Um, we had the limitation in Game Maker that we couldn't make a single body for the snake tail that looked organic. So we had to separate the pieces of the tail in order to make the tail work into different pieces. So we would have a flowing object there. With that limitation, we decided to go for an skeletal snake that we could separate the bones of, and that's how the whole idea of a skeleton snake uh, came to be. We then shaped the whole environment around it to fit the snake, being Dia de los Muertos, and influence into Mexican culture that was
Nice.
heavily influenced by on my arrival here to the United States.
I see.
Actually, uh, and that was back in 2014 to 2015, and that's where the whole theme grew. Well, years later, we decided to tackle a bigger project, um, closer to what we are familiar to. We grew up with GameCube, Nintendo 64 games, and they were very immersive 3D experiences.
True.
And we felt way more identified with that than the endless scroller and what was the mobile market back then. We really grew apart from the mobile market in that sense, and with that idea of making something that was closer to our hearts, we took inspirations from games that really made a difference for us or shaped us in many ways. In this case, being The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Not much of a surprise, but that game was a huge inspiration in that sense. And we decided to make characters that were memorable and that in a way they felt alive, ironically, being all dead. But that,
Okay. I love that joke.
it's that was not planned, but I just realized it. And
That would be the stigma to promote your game from now on, right?
Perhaps. And with that, we decided to make a game taking inspiration from The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
I see.
And having having characters that were memorable and that they had a sense of worth to them or value. So yeah, as a whole project, I guess that's the easiest way to put it.
I see.
Yeah. I guess you could say that Kulebra originated from a skill issue on my part. The programmer.
But it turned out great, right? So it turned out even better.
Yeah.
So like you mentioned,
yeah.
you're learning. It's a learning process with combining with passion, right? So it's like
Yes.
it's a perfect combination.
If I could go back then and actually do the thing, the seamless snake, I think I will still keep the skeleton.
I see.
I'm very happy with how everything has turned out.
I see.
It's been a blessing in disguise.
True. Very true. Thank you, by the way, for sharing this whole story of how the story itself shaped with honesty. Thank you so much. So what about the gameplay? What kind of aspects of the gameplay side will players be able to enjoy when the game releases? So what kind of gameplay aspects are you guys planning to add to your game?
Well, let's see. The game. One thing to mention that I really enjoy about the game is that the game gives you a whole, even though it's a compact scenario or map, having a schedule within the game or 3 sections: day, evening, or dusk and night. Exactly, 3 scenarios. These compact environments become places to explore throughout the whole day, and they rewarding exploration and making it feel like an ecosystem of puzzles and things to discover around by just walking. And I think it really how would I say, rewards curiosity in a sense, and that can make for a very entertaining experience and a couple of interesting twists and secrets around that we won't mention for the sake of
yeah, it's understandable. It's spoiler time.
Yeah, but the game is full of surprises and nice twists.
I see.
Yeah, I guess the best way I found to summarize the gameplay of the game is detective work with a time loop mechanic.
I see.
Because I guess for those that are not aware, watching, one of the core mechanics of Kulebra is that the characters are stuck in a time loop. So you're like a snake that goes into Limbo, where people with unfinished business they end up there. So you need one of the things you have to do is help them move on. And well, these characters that are stuck in Limbo, they repeat the same day over and over again. So you have to do a little mix of figuring out what's going on and then connect the pieces and solve puzzles by learning what the problem is and getting hints of what could be a possible solution. And just exploration. I guess I like to summarize it, like I said, like a little detective game with 10 loops mechanics.
I see. Can players or will be able to miss anything important for the story part itself if they are not like that curious, like you mentioned? So can people miss very important story key elements of the game?
Well, there is a. I do. We definitely kept that in mind because I know it's kind of awful when you play like a game and you're like halfway through and it turns out like, oh, I missed this content and I have to restart the whole game if I want to actually watch it.
I see.
So that is something I really paid attention to because of just how the game is structured, and sometimes there's no way to like there are missable events, but we make sure to like warn the player like, hey, if you go this way, like you might miss out, you might want to do that before proceeding.
So it's like a stop sign for the player that, hey, you missed something, you still have to do something in the game. I see. That's a very nice touch. Speaking of puzzles, by the way, no, go for that. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to. I don't even
no, sorry.
So just like saying, like definitely, like whenever possible, I like to have the player like be able to like go back, but sometimes just because there's not an organic way of allowing it, so I use the stopping like a second best alternative.
I see. Speaking of puzzles, by the way, how hard or how easy are you aiming for with your puzzles in your game? So what was the goal with the difficulty settings for the puzzles itself?
I think I'd be better letting you answer that one since you designed most of the puzzles in that regard. We have a philosophy, but let me go ahead.
Yeah, for the puzzles, basically I try to keep them like entertaining.
I see.
But not too difficult because not too difficult. Not like something like you will be stuck like for 15 minutes, like trying to solve it. I guess I put a higher priority that they are fun rather than like they are like very complex. So it's like it's like it's trying to strike a balance of like keeping them like you actually have to think a little bit what's going on, but it's not something that is going to keep you stumped and you have to like bring up a strategy guide to know what to do next.
I see. What about the arts? No, go for that. Sorry. I keep interrupting you. Sorry. My bad.
No worries, not at all. Don't worry. And I was going to say we try to keep it very welcoming for all ages.
I see.
To us, the game can be very attractive for kids, and we want them to have fun playing the game. So I would say that in a sense, the puzzles are entertaining, but not too challenging.
I see.
As he mentioned, in a sense, sort of something to like a widget. What's the a tinker, something to tinker with, but it shouldn't really be a heavy head scratcher. I see. Oh, and go ahead. You were going to ask.
It's funny that you mentioned, by the way, that your game is for kids, appealing to kids too. Because I remember myself for the first time watching the first trailer of your game, and it really reminded of those times of me playing like this very educational but very like nice puzzle games in my childhood. So it's true that your game could be that as well, right? With those puzzles, in my opinion.
Actually, that's a very good point that you mentioned, because one of the reasons why I believe in video games as a medium, it's because when I was a kid, I was heavily influenced by them, and they really shape in many ways my.
It's the same for morals. Me. Yeah.
Yeah, the things that I believe, they give you this sense of agency too. True. Of being proactive.
True.
Usually they have a very positive message, or they encourage you to do the right thing.
True.
And those things really influenced me as a kid and as a person. Nice. And I wanted to have some of that into our project as well too.
Nice. I respect that. Yeah, we need more of these games in our world, right? Because our world is so crazy right now. So we need those messages out to the players, and hopefully they will learn, right? So that's the best to hope for. Yeah. Speaking of art style of the game, what was the influence behind the art style? So I will give more voice to you as well. What was the influence behind the art style of the game?
Yes, that is originally we wanted, once we decided to jump to the 3D environment, we had the limitations of having to handle 3D characters and how costly they were to model and animate.
I see.
So we decided to go for a pop-up book art style. So things would look like a pop-up book in that sense. Things popping out, but made of paper craft and that type of things. And a great source of as a reference for that was Paper Mario in a sense,
Okay.
because they already had that art style too. So I got some cues from there as well, and that heavily influenced the art style in a sense. Also, the way the character interacted with the environment in a very puzzly way that helped a lot too in that sense. But the art style mainly takes inspiration from pop-up book art and comes from the limitations of not of keeping things simple regarding the cost of making 3D characters and 3D environments that are heavily detailed.
True. It's interesting that we were speaking about this topic of having limitations, but still ending up in a bigger project. Because I always say that having limitations in our life, even if it's about making a video game or writing a book or anything creative, it always helps, or mostly helps, right? Because if you give total freedom for the creator and having all the knowledges, probably it won't be that interesting part of a creation or a form of art, right? Because you will be able to do everything. What's the fun about that, right? So it's like you will mess up everything and it would be like a mess, in my opinion. So having limitations, in my opinion, mostly matters, and it shows because of your game and the story behind your game. So yeah.
No, thank you. I'm glad to know that Rico, like I guess the soul of the game goes shines through. Appreciate it.
True.
I appreciate it.
What was? Oh no, go for that. Go for it. No, go for that.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, and I believe that limitations can bring a lot of good things, like you just mentioned.
True.
It can organically can come with things that feel natural and are natural.
True.
Yes, with I really have an affinity for an organic development and things that, in a sense, feel truthful in that sense. So I admire that aspect of the side of art.
True. And like you mentioned, it's our behind our back, right? That's helping us. Something is helping us. We don't know what, but that's that limitation or that's helping hand. Yeah, so I believe in that too. Yeah. What was your favorite part of the process of making this game so far? Question, of course, goes to both of you. So your favorite part or parts, if there are more parts of the process of making this game so far.
In my case, designing the characters and the environments.
Okay.
It's always fun to mold these ideas into reality, because usually when you have these type of ideas for character design, environments, gameplay mechanics, there's sort of a dream or a blur inside your head. It's not really like shaped. You have this fuzzy thing in your head, and seeing it take form or becoming into higher definition, in
it's
a
like
sense,
you made a photo with your eyes and printed it right on the paper.
In a sense, it's like sharpens as you work on it, so it becomes way more defined, and it's nice to see it becoming a reality. To me, it's been very gratifying to see things shaping into reality. I think those would be the things that I enjoy the most: the process of creating the world, the environment, and the characters, and it's really gratifying to see them shaping into reality.
I see.
I guess I have a pretty similar. Also, like my favorite part is very similar to that, but in another area that is like the game design, or more like the puzzle and the sequence of events. Because the thing is that when we start, like for example, with a chapter like the chapter 1 that is available in the demo, like we have like the general ideas of what we want to happen. Like we have the characters, we have the how it's supposed to end, and like the steps in between. Like let's call them like key steps that we know that it needs to happen. But how to connect those is something that we don't have any idea until we actually get into developing the 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 chapter. And well, the part in particular that I really enjoy is trying to connect the dots and see like, oh, how can I make sense of this? And like figuring out like what puzzles I can do, and with the environment that I have, what pieces I can move around to like create problems and hint towards solutions. I really like the that idea of like connect like I'm given like a little tool set like with the characters and the whole stage that we have, and then I kind of like prepare the chapter or the events with the tools I have. So that's a very enjoyable part.
Something I have to mention is that also it is pretty cool to see things moving in the game and actually interacting, because to me programming is sorcery. I have no idea how it works. It
Magic.
is, yeah, pretty much. To me, he's a magician in that sense. He's very intimidating. I have no idea how he does it, but it works, and he keeps doing great. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see like my pieces of like craft and things getting connected and actually working, like coming to life. It is pretty impressive. And yeah, it's something that yeah,
Just something in particular about the process for us, like making the games and the levels, is that it's not so much that we make like the levels and then we make the environment and the assets for
see.
it, but it's more like we make the environment and the characters, and then we design the game around that environment and the characters
I
that we
see.
have.
I see.
So it's more like Paulo creates the environment and the plot, and I do then work with the like connecting. Oh, how can I make turn this into gameplay? And we go like in a little back and forth.
Yeah, it's a very organic process. I usually like sketch an idea of what the characters are and the environment, and then we uh, like start cutting fat and shaping things into making sense, both gameplay wise and art wise, or programming wise and art wise.
I see.
Yeah,
I see. I see. You've spoken about your favorite part and parts, but what about the most challenging parts? So, what was the hardest parts for you so far as the process of making this game?
Oh, you
Um,
want to?
yeah, I guess programming wise, like first of all, I really enjoy programming and like solving like the little problems that sometimes
I see.
pop up and like organizing. I know it's kind of like it's not like the most entertaining part from from the outside perspective, but I really like enjoy fixing those issues. But something that does happen a lot is that there's a lot of headaches that comes from like early decisions that you take in the project on how you organize like the assets you have or the code. And the thing is that a lot of those decisions don't really like show their consequences until very far into
I see.
development.
I
And,
see.
and the thing is that there's no way, unless you have like experience or you know what to expect from game development, uh, a lot of those there's no way to account for those. And then suddenly, like halfway through the game, through development, you realize like, oh, this is no, I need to change this. And since you have like the whole game, then changing that it's a lot more work.
True.
So definitely, like getting a hint from the like, well, I like getting experience and knowing how what to expect of game development does save a lot of headaches, and it's like exponential. Like the bigger the project is, the bigger of an impact uh, that can have. So I that's why it's a good idea to always like start with smaller projects, and then you like gradually scale up. So yeah, not I haven't found like all the issues that I have found like it's having things I've been able to perfectly solve them, but definitely it's one of those things like, oh yeah, if I have a go back in time, I really would have liked to have done this differently. So so I wouldn't have be scratching my head right now.
I see. I see. I see.
In my case, I would say it's like keeping track of things within schedule of the game. Like certain scenarios have to have different possibilities depending on what decisions you make in the game, and that's a huge headache for me. Keeping track of the different twists or decisions that the player can do. If they have like 10 items, you have to keep an idea of what to do
I see.
with every option that they take. I would say that that's part of my weaknesses in a sense, which is
I
like
see.
organizing that type of things. Thankfully, Babel helps me a lot, and he takes care of that. That's pretty much one of the things that he knows how to handle gameplay wise. Which
I was going to mention, which is funny because actually that you mentioned that you don't like keeping track of like all the decisions the player can do is actually one of the goes along with the part I mentioned before that I enjoy. So
yeah, exactly.
it's kind of funny that the economy,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. His strengths are my weaknesses, and
I
vice
see, I
versa.
see, I see. So you
Thankfully,
complement each other, you could say.
exactly. Exactly, because the things I don't want to do, he really wants to do, and the things I have,
I certainly don't want to draw. I don't want to draw over 3D model.
but one thing that I do have to do, and I don't quite enjoy, is like the tedious part of the art process, in which, for example, I have to export 160 sprites of a character, and I have to do it manually and rename them and go through another app, and that type of tedious works that are really behind the curtains, that just take a lot of time. They're just very time consuming and tedious. Sometimes you get to the point in which your hands can hurt just by clicking so much of
True, true,
exporting,
true, true,
clicking, exporting, that
true,
type of thing.
true, true. Throughout the process of making this game so far, was there anything, by the way, that needed to be cut out from the game? And if your answer is yes, could you reuse it at a later phase of the lab development?
I would I would say that, and I really like that question, by the
Thank
way,
you.
because it's really important in game development from the very start. How things start with a very big idea, and as you start cutting fat around things, the things start to get more compact, and some of those early ideas become more unrealistic. So you have to pretty much ditch them out. For example, things that quickly, in very early of the development, became obvious that were not a good idea to have, or that it would be better to remove,
I
is
see.
that the characters used to have certain schedules that were very time specific. Instead of day, dusk, and night, we had the whole
Like a
6 to 12,
16-hour clock.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
16-hour clock. And that quickly became too much of a problem and not a necessity for the core of the game. It was not really something important that the game needed. So we cut that time specific mechanics, and we simplified it way more. Something that also, in a way that cut, are things that shape the environment. For example, the size of maps, or the way certain maps would work.
I see.
Um, they would be scaled down, and sometimes actually they would grow in size, in a sense, for our surprise. But it's like on a need basis, I guess. For the and also one quick idea here that I don't think it matters much to share. I don't think it's going to spoil anything big, but we had this idea of having the environment possibly be shaped by the things that the player would do.
I see.
So you would have the environment taking different forms and things like that, depending on on who you help and how you help them, etc. But that had some heavy limitations with the engine and the way it worked. So it was not a possibility. Something that we may explore in the future,
I see.
but it's not guaranteed.
I see.
I
I
would
see.
like to. That's one idea that I would like to keep for a next project.
I see. I see. Thank you, by the way, for sharing this. With it's like spoiler time, so thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So a more personal question again from me would be: I believe that all of us creators who create our own craft, we always tend to put our inner self, our inner soul into the projects, into the craft we make, right? Even if it's about experiencing loss, love, happy, or negative moments in our life, in our past life. Is this statement of mine true for both of you when you work on video games? And if your answer is yes, what examples could you name us, or could you bring us to the table about this question?
I would say that the characters in the game and their story are not necessarily a mirror
I see.
of myself, in a sense, or
I
my
see.
or my relatives, or Pablo and so on. But I would say that our experiences in a way shaped the characters
I see.
in the game,
I
or
see.
influenced them. Um, there's one character actually that it's a very heavy influence, which is the birds in the Wing Union, the leader of the HQ there. It's pretty much the bird
Your
that sits with
parrot,
us.
right? Your parrot. I have seen in the
Yeah,
Steam stream. So yeah, I wanted to ask this question, but you like answered it already now. Yeah. Yeah. So he's in the
exactly. That's
game.
what. Yeah, exactly. That's one character that it's a direct translation
I see.
of someone real in a sense. But other than that, I would say that the characters do not mirror anyone, but their development are definitely influenced by personal experiences.
I see. I see. I see. And
Yeah, I
what's
guess.
oh go, no, go for that. Go for it. Sorry, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, yeah. Just want to say, yeah, even if you don't like personally like experience because there's a lot of like different stories out there like and different life experiences, but we all go through a lot of similar stuff just in different shapes.
I see.
And I think a good thing is try to understand other situations from the perspective of things you have being able to experience.
I see.
And that's one of the approaches that we do when like we I guess put the heart into the characters. I guess that's a way to put it.
Hmm. Yes, in a way, when I design the stories or the characters, I try to connect with them first, because that's the way that I organically like to write the
see.
characters,
I
in
see.
the sense that the experiences that they're going through in a way connect with me or really make me feel something. So that's pretty much like my starting basis for uh, character story.
I see. I see. What I wanted to ask is that which character is your favorite and why?
Ah, I
Again, of
think
course, question goes to both of you. So
yes, I think mine's pretty straightforward. I think from the game, my favorite character is Kulebra.
okay,
In a in a sense, it's always carrying that radiant smile. In a sense, has this oblivious vibe to everything, but it's very proactive and always moving forward without. It's sort of a happy, stoic character, which is an interesting combination.
I see.
Yeah, I guess I will go. Kulebra is pretty far out there. I guess I kind of flip flop a little bit, especially because as we've been working on the game, things have like my opinion about the characters changes as things have developed. I guess I will have to pick Pika. She's like the little bird that steals the hat
Okay.
on chapter one. Yeah, I just really like the character. I would just kind of like how much of a jerk she is. But I guess that's the not yet. I suppose, but I do flip flop a little bit. I do like Crow a lot, but I guess for now, Pika is like on the top spot.
I see. I see. Throughout the years that you worked on this game, how it affected your other territories of your own life? So, what changes were there for you from being a game developer in other territories of your own life? If there
Actually,
were,
a
of
lot.
course. Okay, okay.
Oh no, yeah. That is an important question, because actually a lot, because this project really shaped my career in many ways. For
I see.
example, when I started working on this project, I also had a full time job in a company.
I see.
This also affected my decision into staying in the company, because I needed the stability. Oh, excuse me, I need to clear my
It's okay.
throat.
It's okay. It's okay.
And it was important for us to have the stability to work in the project, and of course not to break any regulations with the company,
I see.
because our work was external to the area the company dedicated to. So if
I
I
see.
would work in a video game company, I wouldn't be allowed to work on my personal
Yeah,
video
it's
game, because I would
understandable.
be, yeah, exactly, I would be under legal restrictions.
I
So
see.
that wouldn't be a possibility. So yeah, sticking to that company until the project would be finished was very important in that sense. And that type of little decisions can really affect the, the way your personal life or other aspects of your life um, shape in the sense that, for example, I was dedicating my free time into game development, so I wouldn't have that much time for recreation or activities, etc. And yeah, little by little, it really defines things. Just by having you stick to one place in order to finish a project for such a long amount of time can really affect your personal life in a sense. You can maybe sometimes feel stagnated, or you want to rush things in a sense. You feel like you're not going fast enough, but you need some sort of like moral or standing of discipline to stick to it and just finish it.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much like the same thing as Pablo mentioned with a lot of those aspects in when it comes to the personal life. One thing I guess particularly with me is that I had zero interest in computer programming before I even started the project. So I all started with, like as I mentioned before, like Game Maker. That was like my first introduction to computer programming, and I do enjoy computer programming now for by itself. Like even if it's not related to developing video games,
I see.
I do have like a I do have developed like a appreciation for it, and it's a very
I
part that I
see.
really enjoy by itself, like even without being related to a game. So it was a nice surprise, I guess, that I found it so, I guess, natural, I guess, for the lack of a better word, to like it's like a secondary thing I enjoy from the process that I didn't expect that would have happened.
I see. Speaking of the topic of working together as a team on this game, do you believe in perfect synergy, or is it something that develops out through the process of working together?
There might be perfect synergy out there, but I believe that in a sense the clashing of ideas is only natural.
Okay.
And in order to arrive to a working project idea, working in order to work to an effective result, you have to pretty much merge both ideas and take the most of what you can of both to make things work.
True, true,
I
true,
like
true.
to approach I like to approach things, and I believe that being receptive to others' ideas and try to flow into things that work is better than sticking to a very rigid idea.
I see.
Doesn't matter how good it is. In a sense, compromising to have something effective can be way better than just both sides like sticking strong to their ideas and not wanting to to give in. That in a sense, it's important to keep things working and flowing. Synergy is very important.
Yeah,
That's
well, I guess it's also something that is not, I guess, mentioned enough. I will say that it's like I guess, talking about synergies, like how the members of a team, I guess, bounce from each other when it comes to like sharing ideas. Like there's a lot more than just like the team, how good every person in the team is doing what they're doing, but like how they can communicate, making sure that they are like in a similar wavelength when it comes to like looking for what the game should be and what the goal is. It's a really important aspect, because if you have like even if you have like the most skilled like people, if they have like different goals for the game, or then it's if they don't
visions.
synergize and they don't like synchronize with what they have to do, then it becomes very difficult to actually have like a cohesive game.
True.
So it's very important that everyone has at least similar goals in mind, like very similar goals in mind. And yeah, everyone is gonna have like differences. Like no one is like a perfect clone of each other,
True, true, very
but
true.
no one's idea is perfect. So I think by everyone sharing a little bit their perspective, we can kind of like reach a compromise. And I think that compromise is better than the single idea of any one of the members of the team.
I see.
I would I would also say that both of us being raised in exactly pretty much the same way and growing together and having the same tastes for video games makes it very trivial in that sense. So it can I wouldn't be surprised if or uh, we have it very easy in that sense because we really have a strong affinity for the same ideas.
I see.
So So yeah, I would say that for us, even if we have a clash on ideas, it's very simple. It's not even that
It's
much
like
of
not a
a.
fight. You just talk and solve the problem, right? So
Yeah, exactly. It's very simple since there's such a strong uh, similarity in the way we approach to ideas and how we see them.
I see. I see. What about the musical score part of the game? Is it something that you guys make as well, or you guys develop as well, or
Oh no,
it's an
for
external
that
person who is working for you on the musical score?
exactly. We our main composer is called Sax Trifle.
Okay.
I hope I'm mentioning his last name right. I'm always afraid I may pronounce it wrong, but uh, if you're there, Zach, I'm sorry. Um, and yeah, we've been working with him for around what now? I believe 7 years, almost a decade. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a whole decade right now. No, yeah, it's actually a decade. We've been working with him, um, and he's great. Um, we've always loved his work, and he's very passionate, a very talented composer, and yeah, I really like his work. We also recently added, because it's been like a year. We also added Clayton
A
Tab,
year,
which is
a couple for
a couple
probably.
years. Yeah, yeah, time
Oh,
time
wow.
flies when
True,
you're
true,
developing
true,
this
true,
project.
true.
But he's also a sound composer, and he has been helping us with creating the voices of the characters, which he has done an splendid job. And he has also tapped into music composing. He has done a pretty good job too with the tracks that we have requested from him. Because sometimes Zach it's busy handling something, or is not able to tackle things. So we have been having assistance from Clayton as well. But yeah, we those two are outsourced. We pretty much hire them as freelancers.
I see. I see. It's interesting that you mentioned like the sound design because I was so hyped about the fact that when characters talk in your game, they sound like very similar. Where when in Okami, if you know that game on PlayStation 2, characters have spoken the very similar way. Like it was a very
Ah,
similar
Oh,
sound design. Yeah, you should check it out by the
oh,
way. And it reminded
I
me of
will.
Okami game. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'm
Oh,
surprised because I sing a lot of that game, but surprisingly enough, I never seen a character talk or like on the
Yeah, and they are
footage or
not
scenes.
talking. They are having these very weird sounds, right? If they would
yeah.
talk,
Yeah,
but they are not talking. To be honest, yeah, yeah,
Oh, I will check that. Actually,
yeah,
I
yeah,
really
yeah,
like the art of Okami too.
yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
True,
really.
true, true, true. Speaking about again the game itself, what platforms are players going to be able to enjoy your game on? So, what are
Oh,
the targeted platforms for your game? If you can speak about that too.
oh yes.
yeah.
We will have it on Xbox, Xbox Live,
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch,
Okay,
and PC.
okay.
Those are.
Yes.
Am I missing any?
No, no. I guess what you meant by Xbox, so if I it was the Game Pass
Game
specifically.
Pass,
Yeah.
I
exactly.
see, I
Yes.
see, I see, I see. And what's the causing effect that you are not planning to release for PlayStation? Or is it again a limitation, or you don't have any plans for it right now?
Oh, we wanted to keep it as simple as possible because it's very time consuming to have
Port?
different consoles. Yeah, so we kept it short in that regard. We just didn't stick to PlayStation.
I see, I
Yeah,
see.
we maybe in the future we can like reevaluate, like maybe
I would be
make this.
happy because I'm mainly playing my games on PlayStation, so that's why I asked it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
The,
We'll keep that. We'll keep that in mind. Maybe in the future we can release a
No, I'm
PlayStation.
playing on all platforms to be honest. It's just like PlayStation was always my main platform, so yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Hopefully the game does well enough to have a,
I hope
a
so, and I believe
PlayStation.
so. Yeah.
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 Thanks. Oh, hopefully yes.
Any plans for the physical edition of your game or collector's edition? Because like it would make sense, right, to have like a plushie or a figurine of the main character or some
Actually,
stands.
actually, that's funny that you mentioned. We do have a figurine of the character.
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
That was part of the Kickstarter rewards.
Okay. Okay.
On our original thing, it's yeah, we have that stickers, a pen, but physical rewards. That's all we had. I'd really love to have a physical version of the game, but that mostly depends on, I guess, the success of the game and how it does. But that would be that. No question, that would be pretty cool. It mostly depends on if it's a possibility.
True. What about having a publisher, by the way? Do you guys have a publisher or you're
Yes.
still you have. Okay.
Yeah.
How hard was
Fellow-
it or easy to find the right publisher?
We have to say that we're lucky in that sense.
Okay.
I don't remember quite the details on Fellow Traveler, but we ended up signing with Fellow Traveler, and pretty easy. They're great. It's incredible to work with them. I have no critiques or anything really. No.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to not upset anyone at all.
Yeah, it's understandable. It's understandable.
No, yeah, but they're being wonderful. I literally have no words to say. That they've been great through and through. Super patient, super open to our work and receptive. And yeah, they really do a very good work on helping us and keeping things um, well to our needs and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, it's been wonderful.
And how we got in contact is that we basically we were looking for ideas for getting a publisher to help with the game, and basically we were reaching out to different publishers through emails.
I see.
And eventually we stumbled upon Fellow Traveler, and we got into contact after we sent an email. One of their members was interested in their games. In the game that we showed, we prepared a whole presentation to
I see.
showcase the game. I think on PowerPoint it was. But yeah, basically that's how we got into contact with them.
I see.
On my side, it's a bit fuzzy because it all happened during the Kickstarter. So we were pretty much juggling and doing
What
things
to do
out.
next, right? What to choose.
Exactly.
I see. But you managed, and that's the most important thing. So that's the most important thing, that you guys manage, and I believe that your game will have success. So yeah, hopefully for PlayStation. Again.
Yes.
Yeah. Very true. What would be your advice, by the way, for developers from all of your experiences now in your bag?
It's an interesting question.
Thank you.
I guess keep ideas in a sense grounded.
Okay.
Although that's a very subjective thing to say, because I could even say that some of my decisions have not been very grounded, but at the same time, I've heard the typical idea that I want my first project to be an MMO online, an MMORPG, multiplayer, etc., kind of game. So I think it's very important to be considerate of your limitations and work with them instead of trying to break those limitations. In a sense, I think it's a very good rule of thumb to stick to your strengths and get the most out of them.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry. No, I interrupted you.
Oh.
Go on.
To keep it simple, play to your strengths and try to work around them instead of forcing your way into things that are just out of your element, in a sense. At least have a basis with your strengths and go from there.
I see.
My advice will be to, I guess, going along from what Paulo said about keeping it grounded, I think it's very important to try to simplify where the ideas that you have it's very difficult to say a specific way or how little the game has to be, how much you have to cut. But one important thing is that there's a lot to the process of development that you won't see coming. That like that being like technical or performance technical issues with the game, like when it comes to developing or organizing things for releasing the game, even legal stuff. There's a lot of little details that there's no way to cover them all. Know that they're coming, so it's very important to get experience before you actually try to go for like a very big project. So I think it's very important to go on a sequential thing where you like limit, yeah, you limit how big the project is as much as you want, as much as you can, and then you like slowly, okay, for my next project then I'm gonna push a little higher, and then for my next project I'm gonna push a little higher. But those projects are going to give you the experience that you need so that you can plan ahead better, and that's gonna make the process so much easier, and it's gonna help a lot with getting overwhelmed with things to take care of.
There is definitely a lot of fog in game development, so it's you. I always feel like I don't say enough when it comes to advice for game developers because it's a very it's full of tricks and traps around,
True.
and most of those you only learn it by just making mistakes and learning from them and going forward. Things.
I guess going from that, I think there's no way for like to like do enough research to prepare yourself because you're
True.
always gonna get like blindsided by something.
True.
I think just like getting out there and actually do like working on a project, like it's good to do research as much as you can, but there's a point where you get diminishing return. So I think it's very valuable that developers actually go out there and and do a game, work on a game and finish it, and the experience that you get from that is gonna be very valuable for your next project and moving forward.
True. 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 You've spoken about the topic at the very beginning of our interview that you switched for full time. Was it a scary decision for both of you to switch for full time game development or not at all?
Once we established the basis, we had a budget and a publisher in a sense. It wasn't really scary, but more in a sense. How would I say? Uh, I guess it's only natural to be a little paranoid in a sense,
Okay.
or have a little fear to it jumping. But honestly, it was pretty smooth. It didn't feel like a huge crazy bet or crazy jump.
Yeah.
We really worked hard to plan the basis of this project before jumping into it.
And definitely after years of like working on the side of the game, it really felt like removing shackles when you can actually like focus entirely on the game and work on it full time.
Yeah.
I see. Now that you work full time on this exact project, this exact game, how do you balance your free time? Is it hard or easy for you guys to balance your free time?
That's interesting because what I was saying before, the question you asked on how game development affect my personal life in a sense, that's very connected to this, and
True.
again, I think that's a very good question
Thank you.
because in a sense, depending on the way you see things, every second that you might spend on hobbies or doing something else, this being your full time job and not having like a boss around or someone to tell you what to do. Every minute, in a sense, something on the back of your head tells you, "Oh, you could be working on this part of the game, or you could be moving this forward." So it really takes some mental effort to disconnect from the game, and in a sense, its own kind of discipline, because you have to really put apart some time for yourself to enjoy and to to disconnect from the work without any actual like a strict schedule established by a company, a boss, etc. And I have to say that I'm not very good with it. I'm still learning, but that really affects my hobbies and side projects that I would like to maybe address someday.
I see.
But it really affects even enjoying things like a hobby or a side project, because it's time that you could be dedicating to a finite schedule that you have for the game. For example, the game needs to release this year, so every every moment I can dedicate to it, in a sense, matters.
True.
And once it's done, I can dedicate to other things or explore other ideas. But that's something that can really affect your hobbies or recreation,
I
that
see.
type of things.
I see.
Yeah. Typically, like, well, I don't know what the typical concept like outlook of like I guess being your own boss or freelancing is.
Mhm.
You will think like the one issue is actually like sitting down and being able to well, I guess not decide to, oh, I'm gonna take a break, or like one will think like actually like getting a schedule to work properly, like enough time, it will be the issue. But actually I kind of feel it's like the other way around, where actually it's harder for people that are their own boss to actually like limit themselves,
True.
because
True.
it ends up happening. At least from what I seen, I seen other people also that they work like on their, I guess, entrepreneurship. They end up like overworking too much,
True.
and that can really become a problem on the long run. So I do say like a real advice. It's very important to actually be able to uh, monitor oneself when working, and making sure one takes proper breaks, because that does help a lot more on the long run. It might feel like if one keeps like pushing, like it helps, like you get more things done, but the burnout and the exhaustion of like keeping something as stressful, I guess, for the like that, it's something that does take a tax later on, and you don't even realize it until like it
True.
happens.
True. Very true. Very true.
Um, there are two important things also that influence this for myself in a sense, is that um, this type of art career or game development in a way was my hobby back then, and then my hobby became my professional career. So in a sense, I was out of hobbies and I was doing something that I enjoy. So I would find myself dedicating the whole day, no problem, and sitting through it without even being aware of how much time I was spending on it. And that can be something. I mean, if you're enjoying it, I guess it's debatable, but it's also important to make time for other things.
True. True.
So
And for your
that's why you
health,
have
right? Because that's the most
exactly,
important thing in the end of the day. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, because then your health start to deteriorate, and then when deteriorated health, you're not as productive as you would
True.
like, or
True.
it affects your workflow in a
True.
sense too,
True.
and your personal life, of course.
True.
And with that, it's something important to consider, that once your hobby or the things that you enjoy become your work, you have to in a way parent yourself
True.
to
Boss
not
yourself, we could say as well. Yeah.
exactly. And there was another important aspect of that I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, regarding that discipline, because usually you work with the idea of discipline being you sticking to work and dedicated the time that you have to do work. But then you find yourself in this scenario in which you have to do the opposite. You have to find the strength to get out of that mentality
True.
of overworking yourself
True.
or dedicating too much time to something, even if you enjoy it, which sort of that's workaholic mentality in a sense. But it's something important that once you're through it, it can be problematic. And in a sense, I'm partially affected by that for the same reason. I mean, I enjoy it, my hobby, my career, etc. And I feel like I'm always working on a how do you say, on a cord, on a cable, trying to balance both things so I don't go too much to one side or I
And you
don't go
don't
to the other.
fall. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see. I see. But that's again passion, right? So if you're passionate about the project,
Ex-
you cannot help yourself not doing it. So it's like,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. It's pretty much at that point it becomes like natural management
true,
of these
true,
type of things.
true. You have to constantly think about it. That hey, I need to stop now. Now it's the right time to stop, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that's another thing, because sometimes you're enjoying something and you're finishing a piece and it will probably take you 3 more hours or something, and it's already 10 p.m. or
True,
something,
true,
and you're like, yeah, I need to leave this for tomorrow. It doesn't matter if I'm enjoying it or something.
true,
This is
true.
going to take a toll the next day. Um, but yeah, it's in a way it's a good problem to have, because
Sure.
you really go with this idea of being able to dedicate all the time you want into a personal project, a passion project, like you just mentioned,
True, true,
and
true.
then you find that in a way you have let your inner, let's say, for the lack of a better term, your inner child go loose, and
True.
now you have to regulate that
Like
that
running
that side.
around, right? In a candy
Exactly.
store, trying to eat
Exactly.
all the
And
candies. Yeah.
exactly. And turns out that too much freedom
Exactly. What we have just
can be a
spoken about at the very beginning. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say too. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
exactly. So it's a good problem to have, because
True.
you're just making sure that what you like to do and what you're passionate about, it's still what's the word, doable, um,
Achievable.
achievable, or sustainable.
Yes.
True, true, true. True. There was a very interesting like conversation at university I had with the professor about this, like limiting something in order to like have a real goal. Let's say is that they said that there is like a pool in which there is like water, and in the water there is like a rubber duck, and there is like a stigma about it that that pool must have been in a bigger pool, and like the rubber duck sees the not just the own like pool side,
Oh,
but he sees the other pool, the bigger pool's corners too. And if you add
Yes.
it like to multiple times, have multiple pools in each other, you will get like an unlimited pools, which is even bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger with unlimited numbers, right? The rubber duck can see it all, maybe, or not, but that's the limit, right? That he cannot see all the corners of all pools, right? So that's how that rubber duck ends up in like having a limitation, because if not, there would be like unlimited pools in which he could jump over and over, and a bigger pool and a bigger pool and a bigger pool, but that would make no sense, right? Because like what would be the goal then, right?
Yes, exactly. And those limitations are also important to stay grounded,
Sure.
because when you try to the same thing, going loose, you just let's say thin down yourself into nothing.
Sure.
I guess that's why you need to respect your boundaries, like you said, the pool, and stick to those limitations,
Sure.
or healthy limitations.
True. Very true. Very true. Very true. As a player perspective, what changes were there for you guys, by the way, from being a game developer for so many years? So what kind of changes were there for you as a player and
Ah,
for your player's perspective?
it's a curious thing is that
Okay.
my work as a developer and the games are played are complete opposites in many ways. For
Okay.
example, uh, from here to around, let's say, the past decade, I've only played horror games for the most part, and specifically Resident Evil. That's at this point the only game I play, and I just play like one game uh, a year, which is the next release of Resident Evil, maybe a new Mario, or I see Pavel playing Zelda, and I'm just sitting next. But I mainly play horror games, and that doesn't really affect my game development
I
and
see.
recreational side are very divorced in that regard.
I see.
Well, although it's important to mention that Resident Evil puzzle solving and the way they structure puzzles really influence us in that regard. There's a lot of influence from Resident Evil into Kulebra, as hard as it is to believe.
On my end, since I'm like dealing a little bit more like on the technical aspect of the game and like actually like building the project. When I play other games, I like every now and then I'm just like saying, oh, I wonder how they actually like have this like arranged or like
I see.
structured or coded. or like even the visuals. Like, oh, I wonder like how they're doing like this shading effect into the game. So definitely, since working on Kulebra, I've been paying a little bit more of those like technical aspects of the
I
game.
see,
That
I
it
see.
can be a little immersion breaking, but it's very funny because like when I played the games like way back then, I'm talking like when I was a kid, it really felt like there was like another world there, like it will follow like the same like rules. But now like looking back at it, I'm looking at more like I guess like appreciating the art of actually building it, and it's different, but it's actually its own type of like enjoyment. I will say it's really I it's one of those things that I like about games. Like it's figuring out how putting things together and looking how other games work, and I guess making an idea on my head how it could work. It's just like something that has come with the process.
Something something I just remembered that it's also important to me in especially my hobbies is that I like when I've noticed that I like my when my hobbies are completely divorced of my art
I see.
or skills in general, because the moment there's a relation between my hobby
You can be too much
and
influenced, I guess, right?
or actually it sort of ruins the hobby for
I
me,
see.
because I try to optimize it or to look for imperfections
I
in
see.
order to even work them or not, but they really affect the way I perceive those things.
I see.
So in a sense, I feel like I don't disconnect from that work mentality from a sense. For example, um, two things is that same Resident Evil, the art style and the way the game looks, it's attractive to me, but it's not something I'm interested into working. So I can disconnect that work side of me
I see.
in a sense and enjoy it for what it is. As for maybe very game for games that fall into my particular art style or have certain aspects or elements of the game that have things close to what I do, that can affect the way I perceive the game, in the sense that
I
I
see.
can maybe focus on how it's constructed in a sense, or how it's done. It's not always the case, but it can affect how I enjoy a game when I feel like I have a sense of agency over how things can work, etc. It This does not happen so much in in video games as a hobby for me, but one hobby that I have is Gundam figures, like model kits and that
Yeah, I
type
can
of
see
things.
behind you. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly, exactly. I was going to
Yeah,
point there.
I was like, I think it's kind of
Yeah.
like okay. I wonder if there's evidence of that in here.
Yes. At the moment, given the time that I'm only focused on figures, which are pre-built ones, because currently, as of now, I enjoy more seeing a finished product over the hands of other artists
I
in
see.
that regard, over putting my input, because I feel like I would never be done, like tweaking things or seeing imperfections and looking how I could do something differently, or that I or that this isn't right or this is wrong, etc. And it's like an endless loop of just constantly um, mortifying myself with
I see.
something that should be fun. And I prefer the limitations of figures because of that. And going back to limitations, as
True,
you
true.
mentioned,
I can
because it puts an end to that
True,
idea.
true, true. Because there would be unlimited ends if there would be no
Exactly.
limitations. Yeah.
It never ends, in a sense. It's
True,
like
true,
it doesn't matter if you like put an end to it, it still feels unfinished in a sense.
true, 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 very true. You also mentioned and brought up the topic of like having games as an educational form of art and having a message that is put into the craft, into the game. If you would have to summarize a message about your game, what would be that message that you always wanted to uh, give to the players? We could say so.
I would say that my key messages would be
Okay.
to empathy and to be proactive have a sense of agency to do both the right thing and what it's and work towards solving problems or a goal. So it's that sense of agency into achieving a goal and empathy to either help or help or contribute to
I see. I
your
see.
goals, etc.
What about you?
Empathy and agency, I guess that's pretty much it.
No, I'm on the same. We're on the same boat when it comes to the game. Is about like, I guess, how will I put it? Paul is a lot better, like getting putting this into word. He's the story writer for a reason. But yeah, it's like empathy and helping others, and what comes from that is like it's like the central theme of the game, and it's like everything that comes with it, both the good and the bad. It's something that we explore within the.
And also what is putting boundaries to empathy and the boundaries that you have to put on yourself for your own sake
True,
when it
true.
comes to empathy and that sense of agency. So yes, those are subjects that are deeply touched in the game, and we like to communicate about them.
I see. I see. A very interesting thing that I was always constantly thinking about, by the way, not just due to video games, but our own life, is that, like you mentioned, that it is very important to have these limitations in order to achieve a goal, right? But do you believe that there is like an ultimate goal, or these goals that are set up by us humans, like, for example, making a game or having a job or having a house or having a family? Is it only us that are making these goals and they do not have like a real, how to say, like a real stake, let's say?
Hmm. I personally believe in those would be elements within what I would say an ultimate goal is.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I could establish an ultimate goal, but something that I personally like to pursue or to achieve is that in a sense is I would say, let's see, how do I put it?
Yeah, so my original question, let's reshape the question. Do you think that humans will be able to break out of the already owned society rules and limitations that we assume as goals? Because I always was interested as a kid, and now as well, staying true to my inner child and having my inner child on my shoulders, that I was always interested that, hey, there should be more, right? That we are having this universe, but we are like dreamt about like being in the sky as kid, but we are not focusing on it anymore as adults, right? It's just one thing, right? But there are several more. Why do you think like people, when it comes to society limitations, they accept this small pool, with my example,
I
as a
think
rubber duck?
that's an interesting question.
Thank you.
Profound, and I would say that most of those decisions or the things that we compromise with
Okay.
comes from our own vulnerabilities.
Okay.
So we have limitations as beings, and although we can clearly see goals or what things would be better morally, our own vulnerability can shape the way we approach things. And it takes a lot of courage and soul
True.
to break and take the risks to improve and work over that, to
True,
work for
true,
a better, into establishing a better world.
True. True.
Let's use the word world, although we,
True.
we are maybe speaking beyond that. But yeah, I would say that we are heavily shaped by our limitations, but nevertheless we try to achieve to surpass those limitations to bring more good to the world. At
True.
least that's my perspective of what it's worth.
Yeah, I see. It's the way it's the same. Yeah, but it's interesting that a lot of people are, like I said before, are accepting their life for what it is, and they are not trying even to change. If you tune it down to a very low level of the topic, is that, like you mentioned, people can change for the better or evolve for the better with more knowledge and more having to the table from their knowledge. I feel like a lot of people are just stuck in their zone, right? Stuck in that field, and they are just accepting their life, which is weird for me, because like I feel like the constant evolve could be the goal to reaching that unlimited pool that I mentioned, right? Realizing that, hey, what's the limit? Because maybe there is a limit, right, for that bigger pool, ever evolving bigger pool, but who knows, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I like to think that there's like two goals but like one comes from that each individual person. Like I think the goals are mostly comes from two places for each person. That is like, I guess, responsibility from things that you have to do. Like for
True.
example, like if you have to pay bills. So for example,
That's the society rules that I mentioned before. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the rules that, well, I mean, you kind of need to survive, and then
True.
there's the goals of things that everyone wants to do out of passion.
True.
Right, like that being like going to the, I guess, living in the sky. I think it was the way you mentioned, like
True.
as a kid.
True.
Or like making video. Like I guess in my case, I always wanted to make video games. So I think as time goes by and you get older, like it kind of becomes more. You kind of have to affront when it comes to responsibility.
True.
So I think something that could happen is that some people maybe put more priority on the responsibility, maybe because they don't have a choice, because life can get pretty difficult. I personally think it's important to make sure like the responsibility part it's dealt with, but you can reach that goal, but you do never forget the passion goal
Exactly.
that one has in mind. And I think it is a thing that you kind of have to strike a balance, but never fully forget about one or the other. It's something that you have to going back to the tightrope example that Paulo mentioned. Is like keeping a balance. I think because focusing only on the responsibility kind of side, it's not very. I guess at least personally speaking, it might not be very fulfilling.
True, exactly. And like you mentioned, I totally respect that what you have said right there, and I totally agree with you, is that I feel like a lot of people nowadays take the responsibility as goals, right? To have a house, to have a family, to have kids, and they act like they are goals, but at the end, when they achieve it, they burn out from life, right? Because they achieve it, and what's more for them, right? And I've seen a lot of people being in a state, in a position like this, that, hey, I need a house, okay, I got the house. I need a car, I got the car. I need a family, right? I need kids. I have those. What should I do now? And they are just stuck at that time of their life and realizing that, hey, what should I know now?
No, yeah, I can understand. I think it's very important to like make a distinction into what are the things one needs to do and one wants, and what are the things we want to do.
True, very true, very true.
It's also natural within those boundaries, I guess, that once they have a child, a lot of people become they exist to help their children thrive.
True, very true.
Yes, that becomes an extension of themselves, which only natural. And I can see how they see that as the ultimate as their ultimate goal, because it's
understandable.
It can be driven by both love and the passion of a goal.
Yeah, I wasn't saying it's bad, like, don't get me wrong. I wasn't saying it's bad. It's just I feel like there is more for those people, and I feel like those people who like raise a kid, it's a very nice thing to do, and I would like to do that as well. It's just like I feel like those people who like raise their own kids, they just stuck, and they emotionally stuck, they mentally stuck, because like they think that would be the ultimate goal that will make them happy. And I think that's the combination of the topic that I'm bringing it to the table, to these topics as well, that I feel like people do not understand what's the ultimate goal and what's the ultimate happiness. And that's how they end up like being in this stuck position, right? Because they feel like, oh, this goal will make me so happy forever, right? I will have a kid and I will be so happy because it's just happiness. And no, you have to make sacrifices in order to have your kid in your life, right? To protect him or her from the words, to help them grow, right? So it's sacrifice, it's work. Like you mentioned, working on a video game is not just fun, it's also work. And people have to realize that going to this by small steps, achieving your goal is work. It's not like you will be happy forever, ever, right?
Exactly. Happiness, in a sense, is a state of mind.
True.
Yeah, it's not something that sticks there, in a sense. And yeah.
But yeah, I guess something to mention is that I guess every person is different and everyone has like different goals in mind. And yeah, I guess I mean there are people who are like perfectly content with just like having a family, and maybe that's their goal. And
yeah, but sorry for interrupting you, but like what I mentioned is being the ultimate goal. For example, as like to realize what's the ultimate goal is a cohesive like thinking that everyone has, right? So as kids, we all had like this thinking of like, hey, why stars are in the sky, or hey, let's be a magician, or I don't know, these crazy ideas, right? Which we forgot to have as adults. And that's what I said, that I believe in cohesive goals that all people have. It's just we forgot about these cohesive goals, right? But it's built in us. So why people are not exploring it right anymore? So that's the weird part for me.
Yeah, I feel like that goes back in a sense to what I was mentioned before. That in a sense we are also shaped by our vulnerability.
True.
In a sense,
the limitations.
Exactly. Even something as simple as the fear of risking something that you may see unachievable due to your vulnerability or limitations may drive you away from seeing that as unrealistic. And letting those ideas die with the self
with the soul, we could say, right? It's the death of the soul as well, at least the one part of the soul. Yeah,
exactly. Self-convincing yourself that maybe that's an endless goal or an unachievable goal.
True.
Something to mention is that I guess for the lack of a better term, I guess society doesn't really punish you if you just focus on your like responsibility goal instead and not on the like want goal. Like everything like I guess like if you are taking care of your responsibility, I guess there's not really any pressure outside
that's
of yourself.
A more safe play, we could say, right?
Yeah, there's no pressure outside of your own happiness to actually do anything different.
True.
That's why it's like I guess that's a possibility of why it's more common.
True. I agree with you, and that's a great example that you mentioned. Yeah. Okay. We touched here a lot of topics. Before I ask some questions from the chat that they had or they might have, do you guys have anything to say to add to all these topics that we had here? Or I missed asking something and you would like to speak about? Is there anything that you would like to mention, to speak about? Or I missed asking and you would like to talk about before I go into the chat questions?
Something also important that I believe I missed into that last subject is that also your own morals can play a big role outside of your limitations.
True, it's very true.
Your beliefs on what is right and doing the good thing can really drive your decisions and play around limitations for something as simple as and simple for the lack of a better term because it's a very big deal, but trying not to hurt others in your own process and letting the other lives in order to make your own to seek your own happiness can really shape the way you see things way beyond your limitations and your vulnerability as a person or individual.
True, very true. Thank you, by the way.
But I got nothing in terms of any question. I think that your questions have been very thorough. And
thank you so much. Thank you.
It's been a pretty interesting.
Thank you so much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Go for it. No, go for that.
Oh, I was going to say that we're open to questions from the public and anything.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if there is any question. Hölgyek, urak, hogyha bármilyen kérdés van, Kérdezzetek, let us know, ladies and gentlemen. Let me share the Steam page of the game again until we are waiting for questions. Let me do that. Okay. Anna said, I love the Mexican culture and how snakes are used throughout the different locations. Love my time in Mexico. Always looking forward to interviews from you. Thank you. Thank you for the nice words about the game as well. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Any questions? Any questions? You will be able to ask questions in my Discord as well, but if you have any questions now, feel free to speak up. Oh, by the way, a question that I forgot to ask when you mentioned the Kickstarter project. Will there be late pledges for your game as well, or only it was a Kickstarter and you ended it and?
So far, we don't have any future pledges projects or Kickstarter. But
I see. Thank you.
At least as of now, yeah. Maybe in the future.
I see. Thank you. Let us know, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know if there is any question. Hölgyek, urak, bármilyen kérdés? Any questions? Any questions? Let us know. And of course, promotion time. Don't forget to wishlist the game. By the way, is it this year? You mentioned that you're planning to release it this year. And I see.
Yes.
Are there any exact specific months or plans about which months or no?
Yeah, not at the moment. No. It's like one of those like secret information.
I see. Very spoilery informations. Yeah. Okay. So one thing that I remember I missed asking is that what was the goal with the length of your game? So if you can speak about a bit on that topic.
Could you elaborate with the what you mean with the goal?
The length. Like how many hours can players enjoy your game? So what will be like the?
That's we believe the game can go from 10 hours and up.
Okay.
Because given that the game has a schedule, you may have to do some exploration in order to figure out things. Since it's not a very linear experience in that regard, some players can spend more time than others. And for that, it's but an average of 10 hours. I think it's a good average, right?
Nice. Yeah, I think. Well, let me see, because I think the demo that is available, that is like the first chapter, is actually. It's actually a pretty good, how do you say this?
Measurement?
Yeah, measurement. I think the game has like 5 chapters.
Okay.
So I found that funny enough that despite like how different each chapter is, like they all clock out, at least on our experience, like they clock out around the same time. So that's when we get the
measurement in particular, yes. Because the demo can go from 1 hour and a half to even 3 hours, depending on the player. But the average is around 1 hour and a half to 2 hours. So, and in the game, each chapter sort of has that same length for each chapter.
So that's how it comes to 10 hours, yeah.
Exactly, 10 hours plus side quests and that type of elements. Yes.
I see. Are there going to be, by the way, any like collections that you can like find in your game, or Easter eggs that you mentioned?
Yes, there are a few Easter eggs of some personal things and inside jokes that we have in our Discord and Twitter. No big deal, but yeah, we have a few little jokes.
There are that we have actually showed it before. I don't know, at least in our development updates, are the basic bottle messages. That's one of the things you can collect in the game, that are like little like bottles with a little like message. You don't need it to complete the game, but there are just like little things you can find that for fun. That they have like a little picture or a message. and yeah, there are like scattered around the game, and that's one of the things you can find for fun.
Yes. And a lot of those bottle messages are from our Kickstarters that
Oh, okay.
they get. Yes, one of the goals is that they get to write a message or attach an image or both.
Nice.
And yeah, you can find them and see the messages that they leave to the player.
Nice, 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 nice. You also mentioned, by the way, that you have a lot of other plans for other games to work on, right? Is there something specific that you can mention, or just like without spoilers, what kind of ideas would you like to explore in the future? So, what about your future plans? Let's reshape the question. What kind of games would you like to work on? Would you like to stay in this genre or a totally different genre for the future? If you're game
I'm
developer.
liking this genre,
Okay.
honestly.
Okay.
I think yeah, I feel comfortable within its boundaries and what it can provide to the player from especially for children, as I mentioned before, as in a sense a learning experience. And I
True,
would
true,
like
true.
to keep at least within those ideals. But as for future projects, nothing I would feel confident mentioning
Or
or
certain so yeah, like, we have like a backlog of ideas, but like until like it's something that we will be looking into after Kulebra releases, and we actually say time to
yeah.
actually say, because they are all like, at least personally think I like all the ideas. It's mostly like what will happen with Culebra actually. We kind of have to pick one project to go for, and
I
then put
see.
the other ones in the backline.
I see. I see. I see. How hard, by the way, it is or easy for you guys to leave the past project behind and start working on a new one? Mentally, of course. So, how hard is it to leave the past project behind and start working on a new one?
Well, I don't have much experience in that regard. Given this is our technically our third project because we started with the first Kulebra game. Then we started working in one in the middle, but we have to put that one to rest because of
I see.
personal life. Then we jump back into Culebra as the IP to work with. So I guess we have not have to struggle too hard with the idea of abandoning
I see.
an idea and moving on. But we really treasure our ideas in that regard because even the game that we stopped working on, we saved it for a later future, and
I
that's
see.
one that we
Yeah,
would
you
like to
mentioned that. Yeah.
tackle in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, once we, in a sense, develop a character and a universe, we have a sense of attachment to them, and we like to work to achieve something with them.
I see. I see.
It's like in a sense grow. It's like your own child in a
True,
sense.
true,
It's like
true, true. Very true. Yeah. Yeah.
you want to see it like become
Growing. Yeah.
yeah, a reality and shape the thing
True,
into
true,
that.
true,
Yeah,
true.
it's something we are fairly excited to explore.
I see. I see. My two last questions would be, first question would be, you mentioned building an IP. Can you guys see yourself like building, for example, TV show for kids from your game? Because it would make sense, right? You have the wonderful and very touching art style, the gameplay elements, the story. It would really fit into like the whole universe into a TV show as well, or comics. Were you guys thinking about it or no?
I've daydreamed about that idea
Okay,
a
okay,
couple of times. Yeah,
okay.
I'm guilty, and especially the one I mentioned you that we had to put a stop because
Yes,
of
the passion
of
and
work and life.
yeah.
And yes, that one is one that I would really like to see as animation in a sense,
I see, I see, I see.
yes, but right now I guess the video game format is what suits us the best. But yeah, I'd really like to see some of those stories shaped into comics adapted and that type of things. It would be nice to see.
Yeah, in
Nice.
my case, I'm very like one note in the sense that I mostly play video games. Like I have watched my movies and series, like, but it's not like a main focus. Like my main focus is video games, so I kind of struggle like on a personal level, like to kind of like try to veer away from into things like comic,
I see,
and
I
I
see, I
guess
see.
I guess movie. I guess doesn't help the fact that I'm the programmer and I'm game designer. So all of those fall more like in your territory, I guess, Pablo.
Yeah.
When it comes to like art, stories.
I can see why he wouldn't be so mindful of the idea, given that it sort of takes agency away from him. That type of project, not in a negative way, but at the same time, I imagine it's hard to be interested into something that basically you have no input on.
True.
Although
True.
I have to say that he has contributed substantially to the story and lore of the thing, and I think you will find yourself contributing more than what you would imagine into that type of projects. In,
I
in a
suppose
sense,
it
I
could
like to
also
think I
happen,
like
yeah.
to think so. Yes, but I can see where you're coming
No,
from.
I know, and definitely it will be fun. It's just I guess more of a point like there's not a lot.
Yeah, no, well, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, like there's not. I guess the skills like the things I specialize on are not don't really like apply too much in there. So
I see.
it's exciting to see. It's not like, oh, if we get the opportunity to have it happen, like I wouldn't say no by any means. But like, but no, yeah, that's mostly it. Like, oh well, what would I do? I just kind of stay thinking.
You will evolve, right? Like you did with programming, and you will realize that hey, it's fun to do that TV show as well, right? So it's a
Actually,
learning phase, right?
Actually, now that you mention it, given that situation, I was thinking that maybe an interactive comic would
True,
be a
true,
cool
true. It would
idea.
make sense. In my opinion, it would totally make sense because your universe that you have built, and like you said, it's already an IP, right? And it's already a
Yeah.
unique IP. It would totally make sense to have like a TV show or comics for a kid that they can like, consume and be on the lookout for. So
Yes, I had this idea of having or a visual novel, I guess, in a sense, in
I
which you
see.
could have different endings or different situations happening on what you select, but it
True,
would be more in a comic format
true,
of that
true.
regard. And yeah, that would be a hybrid between what he does and what I do. So keeping the two of us together there. I just remember that idea. But well,
Who knows? Who
if
knows
that
what the future will bring, right?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So my closing question would be, you mentioned both of you that at the very beginning of our interview that it was always a dream for you guys to like be on the lookout for games, playing games, and also like working on video games or with in the industry. So do you feel like now that you are full time making this game and you have plans for other games in your future as well, you are the right place, right time in your life? Or you still feel like there will be like a very dream game that you will build? Or is this the one that you always like dreamed and those ones will evolve, but this is the right time, right place for you? I know it's a very philosophical question. Sorry that I'm going deeper in the topics, but I'm interested, so that's why I'm asking.
Oh no, that's interesting. I guess I've been focusing more into development and achieving the goal to make it through. That I really haven't seen myself too much in the sense of where am I, in what position am I in that regard.
I see.
I don't know if I will ever feel defined in that sense.
I see.
That
I see.
that is an interesting question because
Thank you.
in a sense it can feel like a bottomless ideal in which it doesn't matter what you throw in, you still feel like there's something that you still have to achieve or
True,
or
true, true.
complete.
Again, those limitations that we talked about, right?
Yes, exactly. And at the same time, yeah, it's I am way closer than what I would imagine it was possible before. I mean, me from when I was 17, for example, or 10, you would ask me if this was even a possibility, and I would not see it at all. I,
True, true,
I, I
true.
wouldn't. Yeah, so
That's why I
in a
asked that
sense,
it's now that you are here, so it makes
exactly.
sense,
And
right?
and yes, and although we've been able to make it work, and we're in this position, I'm still the same person in a
True.
way, which is to be expected. But the 17-year-old Paulo would be in shock for both realizations: one, that this is possible, and two, that in a way feels sort of the same. It's still very much goal driven in a sense.
True. What
Yeah.
about you?
The similar in a similar position, definitely like the game. I still have to finish the game, and it needs to come out. So I will say like there's still ways to go
I see.
for us, but definitely gotten like much farther than I ever thought like I will be able to do. Like even just like the fact that we're actually working on releasing a game for the a Nintendo console that like I play a game that like Nintendo. It's just something I would have never fathomed. Like seeing one of the game a game made by us, like actually running on
True.
a actual Nintendo hardware or a video making console. Speaking very much from like the inner child perspective,
True.
it is definitely something like yeah, like when I think about it, it's definitely something I never. It's definitely much farther than I ever thought I could. So I still need to reach the finish line. I will say, and there's a lot to go, but the again is
Feels closer than ever.
yeah.
True.
I know I'm
Yeah, because
rambling a
now
little
both
bit.
of you have the confidence, right? That yes, we can make this happen, and it's not just a
Exactly.
dream, right? So it's like it's
Exactly.
helping
And
evolving.
yes, and also considering that we come from Latin American country, specifically the Dominican. Back then, we wouldn't even know how to speak English. That would yes, no, you win. Just clicking A to every character and see what happens. Everything felt so
Natural.
yeah, and leading to the development process and how things work. Our the way we perceive it just felt like a completely entity. Yeah, that we just could not
True.
reach.
If you would go back and say to your inner child, you will make it at some point. Just wait. That's the snake going back, right?
Yes, I don't. I wouldn't even understand what I'm talking about. It wasn't even.
He would care probably like, what the hell is happening right now? It's a
Time
dream.
travel would be more impressive. Yeah.
Very true. Thank you, by the way. Thank you so much for your honesty on all of those topics that we about and you spoke about too. And thank you so much and being here with us at today's episode of my honor and the pleasure to have you guys speak about that we have spoken about. Yeah. Thank you. You joined us for today's episode. Like I mentioned, you will be able to ask questions in my Discord as well. And yeah, for those who are watching us as well, thank you for being with us here today. Or if you will be watching back the VOD on Twitch or the edited and unedited version on YouTube. And like I said, I will need some more of your minutes of stream. But for those who are watching us and were here with us, and of course for you as well, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Have a great.
It's been great.
Thank you so much. Have a great day or night, depending